Hi, this is Dave Koji, and welcome to another episode of Improving Through Mentoring. This episode 4, is Are Your Internal Processes Working Well? Before we dive into this, if you haven't yet, in the description is a sign up form or a link to a sign up form where you can sign up to join the mentoring program. It's free to join, and I encourage you to do so. I'm putting together the community of mentors to help you and more to come. So definitely sign up and get ready to help your business. Okay, so are your internal processes working well? If you haven't seen the first episode, I encourage you to watch it. This is the third item that I mentioned that your business has to be doing well in order to grow, in order to get over the hump of any struggles that you're having. Very, very key that this is working well for you. So there are three main pillars I wanted to discuss in this episode. And again, this is not all inclusive, but this just if you want to be doing these things well, okay? So again, when we have our mentoring sessions, we can discuss much more than this, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. So these are three key things. So number one, is your team aligned? Internal team aligned. Consistency with the results and deliverables, and on time. Are you delivering what you need to on time, whether it's to the customer or your internal customers, right? Anything that you're delivering to a colleague, they are your customer. So you have to making sure that they're getting what they want when they need it and on time. So the first one is aligned. When you're working on, especially on a client project directly facing the client, is your team aligned? Are they, number one, are they on the same page? Do they all know what they are doing? Do they all know what the goal is? Do they all know why they're doing the project? You really want to start off any project by really explaining the purpose of why you're doing it, the benefits to the company, and what this means to them as individuals for their own growth trajectory. So important that get everyone on the same page, not just the what you have to do, here's the directions, but do more than that. Definitely provide the directions of what needs to be done, when, who's responsible, and those accountability actions. But also make sure everyone's on the same page with why you're doing it. Start with the why. Next is complaining. You know you're not aligned when you hear a lot of complaining about the process. That's pretty self-explanatory, but if your team is complaining about how things are being done, or there is a holdup because Tom can't give me his piece because Sally is not done with her piece, and you have all this internal infighting. If you hear this chatter, if you get this feedback, you know you're not aligned, and that will cause bottlenecks in your process, which means that if you're at a point in the project, it's stopped, it can't move forward, so you're wasting time, it's building frustration, and you want to really keep an ear out and hear about any complaining and ask questions too. In the last episode talking about project plans, you'll know if something is behind schedule because if it's not being delivered at the day it was supposed to be delivered. Next is workarounds. Do you see, or have you been noticing that your team is not following the process that you set out for delivering something to the customer or delivering something internally? Any of your internal processes, if you say that you should be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and your team is doing 1, 2, 4, 5, they are working around the process. This is actually a good and bad thing, and I'll tell you why. It's good because they're finding a more efficient way to do it, right? It's bad because they're not following a process you set forth in which other people might be following it. So there is not being aligned. So if you see people working around your process and it's working well, don't scold them, but celebrate the fact that they're getting something done quicker. Find out what they're doing and make sure that that's replicated to your other team. Now, if they're doing a workaround and skipping number 3, and it's a crucial piece, right? And it's causing defects or problems, then you got to address that problem and make sure they're working on it. So it could be either way. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. Second pillar is consistency, getting the same result. So if there is an internal process where multiple people use it and they're getting different results, that is a very key sign that you're being inconsistent. Your team's being inconsistent, especially when it comes to delivering to a customer. So think about a restaurant. Let's say you go to a restaurant, and a neighborhood restaurant, not like a chain restaurant, and you get a hamburger. You get a hamburger and fries, and it's great hamburger and fries. The next time you go in there, you order the same thing, but you get half the fries and you get one less strip of bacon, right? That inconsistency is a big problem to your customer. And again, customers are their end user, right, who's paying you, or your internal customers, the people who are consuming some type of deliverable internally to your company. So it's important that if you're not seeing if you're not getting the same result, you're not seeing the same results, seeing different results for the same process or the same deliverable, then you have a consistency issue and you have to look at your internal processes. Next is following the same process. And it's kind of, I just mentioned that, but it's important that everyone is following that same process. Having a process makes something very efficient, right? People are not reinventing the wheel. They are taking what is already hopefully the most efficient way to do something and using that in their own work and producing the best result in the most efficient time. Following the same process is huge. So if people are not following the process, don't necessarily blame the person yet, right? What seems like a people person might be a process problem. So making sure that people understand the process, can do the process, understand it. Again, this is not a one size fits all. There could be people who don't want to follow a process, don't want to be at your company, want to leave, right? Or there could be good people who are just struggling because they don't know how to do something. Make sure you're uncovering the root cause of why the process is not being followed. And once you have defined what exactly is the problem here, then you can make sure and really guide your team to follow that process. Do a refresher course, teach the people again on what they have to do on whatever this particular hypothetical process might be. Lastly, deliver on time. Are you delivering on time? Again, to your external customer who is paying you or your internal customers. Is everyone getting their stuff on time? If not, again, it goes back to this overall process and bottlenecks. There is something wrong happening if something's not being delivered on time. It could be a process issue. It could be a learning issue. It could be that your expectations on a process are not realistic. You could have promised a customer something that is just impossible. So you might have a sales problem. They're saying that you can deliver your widget in 10 days, but it's really 15, right? So all this is just uncovering things to your business of why it might be struggling. So if something's not delivering on time, find out if your internal processes are working well, right? If you're aligned, if you're consistent. If you're aligned, consistent, and you're not delivering on time, then you don't have an issue here, right? There's something else at stake. So this is a self-diagnosis I mentioned. You can do it yourself. Low variation. You want low variation. So as I mentioned about the restaurant with the hamburger and cheeseburger and fries, we want to make sure every time I go into your restaurant that there is low variation, meaning that I'm not going to tell the difference by the amount of bacon I have, or especially the amount of fries I have, right? If you give me about the same size and it's not completely obvious, that's low variation. I'm not going to tell the difference. I'm going to assume that it's a consistent experience. Lastly, are customers happy? I always go back to this. If people are paying you, they're happy, then you got something great here. If customers are not happy, then you have a problem here. And again, if you start to look at these things, look at these symptoms, try to understand from your team, ask questions, don't point fingers, but try to understand, ask why things are not happening the way they should. Why are there workarounds? Why people are not following the process? Why are things not delivering on time? And ultimately, happy customers, not just the people paying you, but the internal customers on your team. Are they happy? Are they getting what they need to be successful, right? So this in a nutshell, again, there's tons more we can talk about that's more specific to your business, but this gives you a little insight of being aligned, consistent, and on time when it comes to your internal processes and if they're working well. And if you get this stuff right, chances are you're going to have a great internal processes. Your team's going to be happy, at least with the process. I can't say they're going to be happy with everything, but they're going to be happy with the process that you're looking into, you're improving it. So drop me a comment in the description. Comment in the comment section about what you think about this. Is there anything else? Again, if you're those entrepreneurs out there who is either doing well or struggling with the internal operations, what else does our entrepreneurial community here, our mentoring community, what else can they do to make their process work well? What else should they be looking for? Post that comment in the comment section. It would be appreciated. This has been another Improving Through Mentoring episode. Again, in the description, sign up for the mentoring program. It's completely free. We want to help your business. We want to make sure that if you're struggling, we're helping you to uncover why you're struggling so you can succeed and do great things with your company. So I look forward to the next video, and I wish you well.